Hi, I'm Kelly Mauger and I work at the WI Cookery School, and today I'm going to show you how to line a springform cake tin. So here I've got an 8-inch cake tin. Obviously you can do any size with this. And you'll notice that usually when you buy these tins, they have a raised side and they also have an indented side. Now, I always use the raised side purely for the fact that if you use the indented side, I do find that things can catch in the bottom. Particularly if you're going to make a cheesecake, I do find that most of the base can just be sort of stuck in there. So if you use the raised side, it just means that obviously you just have a nice flat finish. Same with making a cake. Once the cake is cooked, I quite often actually like to turn the cake over and use the bottom as the top. If you use the indented side, it means that sometimes you can have a slight lip in what you've made. So all in all, I just think you get much better results by using the raised. What we want to do is make sure that when we hover it inside, in those margins, that when we come to close the spring, it's nice and flat in there. Okay, so nothing is raised or on a diagonal. So now our tin is ready. So what I'm going to do is line it with some margarine. Now you can use anything. We're basically using the margarine as an adhesive. So you could use butter, oil, the spray light, sprays, it doesn't matter. Personally, I like margarine. It's quite thick, it's very easy to spread straight from the fridge. I'm just going to put it on onto some kitchen roll. I'm just going round, just giving it a nice coating inside the tin, and also round the sides. Now I'm going to be using either greaseproof or parchment, it actually doesn't matter, but I just don't particularly like using cake liners for the fact that quite often you can get a crinkly edge around half of the cake, and then the other half of the cake where the liner doesn't quite reach the top of the tin, completely flat. To me, you just don't get a perfect finish for your cake. Okay, so now that our tin looks like this, we're now ready to do our paper. So like I said, greaseproof or parchment is fine. There actually is no right or wrong way with parchment. Using a pencil or a pen, just draw around the outside of your tin. And then cut around. There we go. And always make sure that the side that had the pencil or pen mark on is facing down so it doesn't actually touch our cake mix. And I'm just going to pop this straight into the bottom. Just score around with your finger just to make sure it's nicely stuck in. Now because we went around the outside of the tin, it just means that we get a little lip as well of the paper which we can put up the side, just to prevent any cake mixture from just going through the cracks. It's very rare that that happens anyway. Next, I'm going to go around the outside of the tin. So I'm just going to fold my paper just so I get a nice straight line. And instead of using scissors, I will use a knife. So just score it with your nail and just cut through with the knife, just so you get rid of that bit if it's not straight. And then I usually estimate it, but I like to go just perhaps about an inch higher than the top of the cake tin. Again, we can just measure that here. Perfect. Again, score with your fingers. Just slice through. Now you can see here I slightly just picked up a little bit from the next piece of paper. Don't worry, we'll just make sure that that's on the outside. And again, because this isn't quite straight, I'll just make sure that that bit ends up at the top. So bearing in mind where the crease is of the springform, there's always a crease. I always make sure I go over that bit first. Like I said, because we have this slight lip that I accidentally made with the knife, you just make sure that bit of parchment goes this way. So again, no cake mix can catch in it. Place on the inside of the tin and just work round with your finger. And then just push it down just to make sure that it meets your first piece of greaseproof right in the bottom. So now, I'm going to do exactly the same with the other piece. Remember that I've got a slightly wrinkly side, so that will face upwards. And I'm going to place this directly in the centre of the other. As you can see, we've probably got about 2 inches here of crossover on either side. And just make sure that you just push it in, just like this. So next up, with these flappy bits here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to peel it back, and then with this part that's touching the tin on the inside, I'm just going to pull it out. So I'm just going to put my ungreased part to stick to the tin, and then my greased part can go over the top, so that we get a lovely bit of crossover there, and it's not sticking out. Do the same on this side. Pull the greased bit back, place that ungreased in, and then the greased part will just stick over the top. And there we have a nicely greased tin. Now, the reason that I've gone about 1 inch higher is just in case we have a bit of a volcanic explosion with our cake mix. It's very rare it happens, but it does sometimes. And if it just seems to keep growing and growing, at least it means it's not going to start toppling over the outside of the tin, and then you have to chisel it off of your oven later on. So it's what we would refer to as minimising risk. So here we have our 8-inch round cake tin, completely lined and ready for its cake mix. There are plenty of more short skills videos on the WI website, and to find out more information about the WI Cookery School, please follow the Denman link in the description below.